Hey, good morning, everyone. We are here to a new webinar with two really special guests and lecturers today. And we are talking about how to declare as a coach correctly our coach cards. We are still seeing some mistakes in the declaration. So here we have Bill May and Carl Health, and both are going to explain us how to create correctly our coach cards to make more mistakes in them. Okay, I think Bill, you are going to start.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
Thank you, and hello, everyone. Good morning. I think the biggest thing when declaring a coach card is understanding, first of all, the difficulty chart, and then verifying all of your movements within the difficulty chart or the acrobatic chart. Because I think it's very easy to, mismark or put things out of order. So for me, I like to first write it down on a piece of paper and then verify move by move by move and just go very, very, very slow. Because I think we see too often that people are declaring the wrong thing in the wrong order. So the more that you can go and just go piece by piece by piece by piece, and again, know the difficulty chart and understand the difficulty chart. And then, have someone verify it. Have one of your other coaches verify it. And then there's also, if you go to the World Aquatics website, you can actually go through and just do test difficulty charts or scorecards. And then it'll go piece by piece and it'll actually give your difficulty as you're going through your different hybrids or your different acrobatic movements.
Okay, sorry, just a second, Bill. I forgot. People, you have a question and answer box. So if you want to ask something, don't hesitate. Just write here and we can explain you.
Great. Bill, did you want to lead off with that awesome presentation from Super Final?
Oh, yes, I would love to.
Actually, do you want me to pull it up?
I would love to. Yes, please.
Okay. So one of the reasons we invited Bill on to kick off this meeting was that at the Super Final in Budapest, Bill presented as one of our World Aquatics athlete representatives some of the revisions that are coming later. Don't want anyone to panic. This is for after Junior Worlds, after Pan Am age groups. So to a few of the rules and the difficulty chart. And Bill did a great job there. So we thought it'd be amazing for all the Pan Am coaches to hear his presentation. So I'm just going to share the revisions. And some of you may have seen this already. So Bill, over to you.
So you guys, I'm very excited about this. Kara's been working very hard for this. So there's going to be a little bit of difference between almost everything. So if you go through each one of these routines, you're going to see that there's one less hybrid. So there's solo, duet, free, everything. And one very, very specific thing that you'll see in a combo if you go through these is that there's now a free hybrid where you do not have to declare any degree of difficulty. So that's the biggest difference in that. However, for the other routines, there is still the apnea, but there's one less hybrid. And then when you go into the difficulty chart, there's now not only, you don't have just the rotations, but now you have thrusts, rotations, spins, airborne weight, flexibility, and connection. And again, these are just suggestions. So this isn't finalized, but this is something that we would like everyone to try, go back, give feedback before we release the final difficulty chart. But you're also being rewarded for more as you move up through the difficulty chart. It's not that you're just adding one more, you're not doubling, say, a spin. You're not just going to double what you have. You're actually going to get a bonus for doing more spins together and without going down. And one funny thing that you'll see is now our R7s are lower than what they used to be. So that's something we've heard feedback, and we've taken that feedback and trying to make it more diverse and have more variance within all of these difficulty elements so that we see more different types of routines, not the same movements. And you'll also see that they're going to ask for to put 5 or one of every element within your routine. And you can do it up to 5 times per hybrid.
I was also just going to add, Bill, that the one thing we've changed that we got a lot of feedback on was the base mark will actually be added to your DD value. So we're all going to start, even acros they're going to start at 0.5 and then you're going to start adding. Just mathematically makes more sense. So that was the rationale behind that. And I was just also going to add, in this bullet is there, the bonuses have been removed. Strategically, just because it's a lot for the TCs to watch. We feel like it's stunting some artistic impression and choreography to allow you to be more free. So that was some of the rationale for that. I'll move to, okay, elements.
Yes, so the elements are changing, and you'll see, actually, one of the biggest difference is now there's only one hybrid for all the technical routines. And I think that's more to place more the emphasis on elements, obviously, in the routines. So there's no more cadence in the technical team routines, and the duets and solos have one less hybrid to, again, make it more about the elements and not worry so much about that. You still have there's no score for in and out of the elements. So you're just getting it based on those technical elements and the routine scores. And if you look at the mixed duet routines, now they're going to do 3 less, or they're only doing 3 elements. And then they'll have the one hybrid. And then they're also going to add connections.
And then lastly, some figures.
Yeah, so the figures, again, are also changing. And it's, as our sport evolves, I know it's always difficult to see new things and to try new things, but this is actually from your feedback. This is from, Tammy gathering feedback, Mayu gathering feedback, Cara gathering feedback, Lisa, Victoria. So this isn't just something that people have taken and trying to make things difficult. It's actually coming from the coaches around the world and trying to offer opportunities for athletes to improve and to be more artistic. We really want to put the artistic back, or not back, but, just make it more valuable within our routines. So this is why you're going to see less hybrids and more emphasis on the artistic impression parts of the routine.
Yeah, and transitions. Try and bring transitions back.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And Lisa made a good point when we were talking to her one day, is that these charts were created over the pandemic, so we really didn't have an opportunity to test them out until our first World Cup meet, which was in Markham in March. So from there, we couldn't keep changing every month. So it was just a constant testing phase. And although it's evolving, now we have the opportunity to test these and, again, to get your feedback.
I can speak to this one. I know it's just a picture of the revised acro guide because I wasn't going to post the whole thing, but that came along in an attachment that was sent from World Aquatics to all the federations. So hopefully any federations that are listening, that went out, that may be something, Victoria, we can make sure comes out with the webinar notes. But there is a revised acro guide as well to get feedback on. So that's why I just put this here as a reminder. And lastly, there is a survey link. This is from World Aquatics for anyone to put in their feedback. So this presentation will be shared. I'll give it to Victoria so it can be sent out to everyone who signed up for the webinar as well. Maybe we can attach that acro guide with it so you can look at it. But World Aquatics is asking for feedback up until July 31st. And I know that's right around the corner, but if you see something in Appendix 3 draft or in the figures draft, any of those documents, anyone is welcome to submit their feedback. And it's very, very welcome.
And I think that's the thing to stress the most, is that we want your feedback. We want to know, how to make things better, because we create these things, and Cara creates all of this. And, everyone is creating this from, once again, your suggestions. but there's always going to be something that people miss, or there might be a loophole. So, try these out, see how it works for you. Maybe there's something missing. There's already a couple things that if you look at it, you can say, okay, these need to be fixed, but speak up, because if we don't hear your feedback, then we don't know how to adjust it and to continue to make it better. Because this is to make things easier for the coaches, the athletes, the judges. And I think it's overwhelming to see the chart at first, because we do have that new, we have spins and thrust, or spins and rotations different, but it's, if you go through it step by step and slowly, you see that it does make a lot of sense, and it will get easier even to create your routines.
I'm just going to flip back to that one.
Okay, we have a couple of questions in our chat. One is, so there are not added points for the pattern changes?
No, that was removed, and the rationale is, and trust me, we love the pattern changes, but it's going to be rewarded in artistic impression. And the rationale is, coaches are very savvy, and the pattern changes are getting up to a number sometimes that is almost near impossible for the TCs to see, especially when we're pool level and we're not, trust me, it's easier to see if you were way up in the stands looking down. And almost the pattern changes are overwhelming. Like, they're not getting creative, they're just getting strategic. So the pattern changes we want will be valued, but it will be valued in your artistic impression. And on that note, I can also comment that there's been feedback, and I know this is a next step, would be adjusting the factors. So those artistic impression elements count more. So don't think just because they're gone off of bonuses, they're not going to count. They are, just in a different way.
Yes, exactly. And the other one is, do you need a connection in teams, in tech teams?
That's a great question. And I believe we've just had in feedback I've heard already, it is to better communicate if the requiring something from each family is required in tech routines and free routines, or just free routines. So I actually don't know the answer yet. It's something I've flagged to be better worded. Because in tech team, you now have like the 2 hybrids, but as Bill said, we don't state that there requires to be a cadence anymore, but we don't also explicitly say if there needs to be a connection. So noted for clarification, 100%.
Okay, no more question, at least for now.
It's okay. Right, anything, give everyone one more minute, but no, you may have seen this already, which is fantastic. And as Bill said, we just really, really encourage you to give feedback. If you want a connection in tech team, put that in the feedback. If you think something should be valued higher, put that in the feedback. Anything within Appendix 3 you don't think is clear, I would love to hear that personally, because we're always trying to make the wording as clear for everyone to understand as possible. So I've already gotten some feedback. If you see in the chart where it says U/B, that means unbalanced. I'm like, oh, Cara, you should have written that out in full as a full word. So something as simple as that is appreciated, and we listen to all of it.
Okay, Cara, someone is asking where we can watch the table.
Well, we for viewing, we can definitely, I'm not sure if you mean videos or just that you would like to see the table, but you will get this as follow-up to this webinar. And then second, yes, we do need to make videos of the skills update. The old videos that we have in the guide, I think we're gonna retire, just because they're not accurate now, a few years later than what we did it. And we would need to make new videos of kind of each of the families and the different skills. So that is on my to-do list for the fall, for sure, to get more resources available for everybody.
Okay, a new one. An item from each skill needs to be in every routine, a rotation and spin, the same skill, or considered separate now?
Separate. So spins are one skill, ascending and descending spins, they are one skill. And then twists, inclusive of twirls and swirls, are a new family. So Those two families have been separated. And that's because it was too hard to put spins with twists in the same level. And for tech controllers and coaches now, you have very specific codes to what you're doing. So as a tech controller, when we saw an R8, we were like, but which one? What's coming? So this makes it a little, there are other families everyone's going to have to memorize, and flexibility, if there's 3 or 4 different skills, it's a little easier, but rotations were really hard for us sometimes. So this should be much more specific and simplified.
Cara, can you scroll down?
Yeah.
This is one of the coolest things I think in the chart is that, you know, like we haven't seen like all the way, if you look to like 3240 or, you know, we haven't seen this much like a twist or twirl or spin, I mean, for 3600. So you're getting a lot of credit. Like if you look at the point system, that's almost as much as a lot of hybrids used to be. So, you know, it's really, really giving credit for, you know, things that we haven't seen in a while and things that are, you know, obviously we all know that 10 spins is going to be very, very difficult and takes a long time, but you're going to get a lot of credit for doing those difficult moves.
Thanks, Bill. That's a great comment. We really took the feedback for upping the DD for time on task, so that a 10 revolution unbalanced twist twirl should be worth 5.45, because you're probably taking about, I don't know, 8 seconds on that, 8 to 10 seconds potentially for each. So that is the why behind it, is ensuring we really investigated time on task and ensuring DD. And like Bill said, then going, you know, just 2 times 5 doesn't add up to this. This is a bonus. It's not just double. Like that was a big feedback from the coach community as well, that the values made sense when you're doubling, tripling, quadrupling, that it wasn't, otherwise people are just going to come back down and do it again. So this way you get credit for staying up.
Yeah, we have another question. Do we know when this we approve will be in place for 2020 for the 2024-2025 season?
Yes, this will come in for this fall. So we have to finish Junior Worlds first. So again, no one panic. Everything is the same through Junior Worlds till that finishes in September. And then this would be in place. Again, that's why we're taking feedback till July 31st. Make any edits if necessary to these drafts to then be approved for post Junior Worlds. And I think there's some education sessions planned around those events in the fall to confirm what is now kind of finalized.
Okay, a new one. The limit of skills per hybrid changes?
Yes. So right now for testing, it is, sorry,
5,
everyone.
right?
5.
Mm.
No,
and it's not the 5. It's not where it used to be. You could only do 2 of the first 1 through 4. It's 5 total for the whole chart.
Yes, exactly. It's not per technique. It is just like 5 spins. So you could choose 5, whatever you want. If you wanted to do 5 360s, you could, if you wanted, but you could do a combined and then a 2-direction combined or just a spin down. So it's kind of max 5 per family for testing. You know, this is where we're wanting feedback on, are we out in left field? Does this make sense? Or it's working, gives you enough options. So that, again, will be pending feedback and kind of a bit of a debrief on what's working. So we're counting on you coaches and some of your athletes to try it. Try making some hybrids. Try making a routine and see if this works. You know, for some swimmers who don't maybe have anything this summer, what a cool thing to do if they can just go to their local pool and try it out and be like, hey, coach, this really works. Or I notice this doesn't really. That's what we would really appreciate. And athletes too can fill out the form and give feedback. It truly is open to everyone.
Cara, I actually had one question, and I don't want to say yes or no, but we are definitely not going to go back to the old chart, correct? Like this is moving forward. It's going to be this or something different, but we're never going back to, like, say, twists and spins combined again.
Agreed. No, I think we're here. It's more just getting, like you said, tweaks to skills or DDs. If there's feedback that, hey, you valued this a bit too low, it maybe needs to be bumped up a bit. You know, same with Appendix 3. For example, if we need to explicitly say you need to do a connection in tech team, for example. But here I think, or if we've forgotten a skill. So far, I mean, I think this has been fairly well received. It is just kind of the details of, especially the repetitions of families. I mean, we're trying something and we definitely need some feedback on that. But the table, I think, is what everyone's asked for. So many more options and options that make sense. Yeah, that's a good question.
Sorry, we have another question. Can you clarify when the high number of rotation two direction twists would be example for rotations?
I'm not sure I 100% understand, Julie. Can you clarify?
Are you asking the height? The height should be the same, correct? Like, we're still going off the height chart. So there's no standard of height when you do the twist and everything, correct?
No, it would just be if you drop in levels.
Right.
Yeah. Right? Like a TC, but no. The height chart's still the height chart.
Okay, the next two are the same ones. If we have the South American event next September in Colombia, will the old rules still apply, or will there's new changes already be in place? No, I assume it's too soon. The new rules are for the next year. Don't worry, don't be panic.
Yeah. And that's great for any federations that might have something this fall. They definitely wouldn't want to clarify that. So there's no panic. But I guess from a World Aquatics or PanAm Aquatics, this is really come January official competition. But any other competitions would clearly communicate what rules they were using.
Yeah. Are the apnea the same?
To be determined. I think because we've dropped a hybrid, that is something that's on our to-do list to reaffirm with the coaches committee, with, you know, it may not make sense anymore.
And currently there's no apnea for seniors still.
Currently, yeah.
And the next one is that every hybrid need to include all of the families. Of course, solos not connection. I understand the routines need to inclusion of all, but correct, not each hybrid, right?
You are right, Lei. Yep, 100%. It is the routine, not each hybrid. And like I said, there needs to be confirmation if this applies to both tech and free or only free. So again, on my to-do list for, you know, just some more clear wording on what it means. Yeah. Always on my list. Always. All right. Any other questions? I know this is a hot topic, but you know, we did want to take 20, 30 minutes to do this because it's going to help you be more informed going forward. Anything else?
One more. What does U/B twist mean?
Unbalanced. Again, thank you. It is on my, I literally have changed it already. And like, just to note to myself, unbalanced. Again, before I got this out, I guess everyone understood because no one said, hey, Cara, what does U/B mean? But it will be fully worded then when you see this as final so that everyone understands. Unbalanced.
And to clarify too, the two directions are still half and half, whereas the spins are the same down, like the 360 down and 360 up, which is different than the two direction twists. So it's the same as the old chart.
Yeah, that is a great note. So when you see the revised difficulty guide that reflects this new chart, a lot of it is the same. All the definitions are the same. The way the tech controllers do things are the same. It's just, again, the division of skills and some new coding and some more options. That's why we had the suggestion to introduce a basic level up top, pre-level 1, so that there are more skills for beginner athletes, for developing athletes. Okay, so that B for basic was a great suggestion and, you know, gives expanded our levels a bit more. So yes, this chart is a lot longer than it used to be, but there are so many more options for coaches and athletes. And again, if you see something missing, let us know, please.
Yes, two more similars. If you declare R3, R3, and the athletes execute R7 two direction trill, if it's possible?
Yes, and it's something we see a lot because you'll have used up your R7s, but you'll use an R3, R3 to essentially. And yes, that is what it is right now. Yep. 100% fine right now.
Yeah. And for sure, for technical controllers, it should drop a little bit after in the second half. It's okay because it's a second R3, not
Correct.
R7. So sometimes it's smart. The next one, would doing 180 one direction, 180 the other direction 4 times without dropping be a 1442 direction?
No, you'd have to look at the definition. It's like doing 720 one direction and then 720 another. So all this will be in the guide, like it kind of explains all of that. That would be you using up like four declarations that are exactly the same, essentially. Yeah, that's what the 2 direction in the twists, it means like 360 one whole direction, 360 another would be a 722 direction. So therefore 1440 would be 2 turns in one direction and then 2 turns in the opposite.
Okay, no more question, at least for now.
Yeah. So we'll give 2 last minutes and then we should move on about coach cards. So anything else from anyone for either Bill or myself, anything to do with these new charts?
One more suggestion for learning this new list.
I would say, well, I'm going to give you a tip. And this is when we did these spins and twists, basic level is always 180. Level 1 is always 360. Level 2 is always 720. Like it strategically makes sense for coaches and TCs, like just like a revolution. Level 1 means 1 turn. Level 2 means 2 turns, all the way up to level 10 times. That's why it's 3,600. So it's logical. It's not like you have to remember different turns at different levels. Everything level 1 makes sense. So that should help with everything spin and twist. And once you know that, SC means spin combined and SCD means spin combined 2 direction, D for direction, the codes start to get more logical and are the same for everyone. So just take time, like Bill said, even writing things out on paper just starts like that repetition-based learning, even for us, just doing it over and over really helps. But we worked with someone in figure skating on this who helped with the coding and used kind of some logical things they use in skating to help us make sense of things. U in twists, it always is going to mean unbalanced. So RU1 is rotation unbalanced 360, 1 revolution. So, and then that will just go up RU2, RU3, et cetera, et cetera. So, just kind of start to learn what the words mean and the codes. Other things in thrusts, you'll find more familiar probably, same with airborne weight flexibility connections, other than some new skills have been added. So probably the newest coding, the biggest brain buster is going to be on spins and twists right now. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Leilani. Okay. I think, Victoria, we good to move on to the next? Awesome. Okay, so I will close this down. And we will start coach card presentation. All right, so now we have to change our brains back to the current system and kind of forget about everything you just saw and just know you're going to look at it for feedback. But for now, we're in status quo to everything that is with the current difficulty guide, difficulty table, and the way we need to do coach cards. So what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to review some basics, some basic how-tos. Then I'm going to go through a bit of the difficulty guide, you know, just so you know all the rules to help you make the right declarations. I'm going to do a tiny bit on AQUA because, as you know, AQUA could be a whole 2 hours on its own for how to declare, but just some helpful hints. And then, of course, you can ask any questions at any time. And just as a note, we're going to take a 5-minute break at the top of the hour, no matter where we are, just to give our interpreter a quick break and for everyone to take a quick health break before we get into our second hour. Okay, so moving ahead, kind of back to basics as far as these amazing coach cards. And I know I've put on like the paper copy, but I think Bill gave a great bit of advice, is to write it out first, even as a coach. Pencil and paper, write out your declaration, understand everything before you go on to whatever system is being used. In a little bit, I have my ISS coach card pulled up because PanAm uses ISS, and that's what's going to be used for PanAm age groups. The other systems are very similar, require the same sort of entry, but this will give us a little bit of practice because sometimes some of the errors are just administrative. It's pulling in the wrong code by accident. So advice to just take your time when you're doing your coach cards. So the top of your coach card, whether you're doing it pencil and paper or whether you're doing it on a system online, is the top is universal for all events. Okay, so you're kind of clicking who you are, what competition it is, if it's prelims or finals, and what event it is. You have to put theme, especially for combo. That is a requirement. But again, the competitions like to have your theme in there. It helps for sport presentation, etc. It's great practice. And then, of course, who is competing. So we make sure the right coach card is matched with the right entry. It does happen that those, so the more you can be organized and have everything well documented, the better for everyone organized. Then we have our main part where you detail your routine parts and your difficulty line by line. Okay, you kind of take things step by step, each part of your routine. I've had this presentation for a while, but I really like this slide because you fill out the coach card, of course, by order of performance, top to bottom, by time and part, and left to right as your hybrid components are performed, or your AQUA. To me, it's kind of like your coach card is your storyboard for your routine. Okay, you are telling the story of your routine to the tech controllers, as well as to the judges who get the parts of your routine so they know what's coming. So you want to make sure your story or your storyboard, your coach card, is very, very clear for everyone looking at it. The more concise and clear your coach card is, the more success, you will have in being able to easily verify.
Okay, sorry, we have a question. It's about synchronization. It's not exactly like that, but it's an appreciation from Olga from Mexico. She tell us synchronization need too much time to catch it. So if it's in January, we start with this new table. Will be changed during the season?
You mean synchro controlling? like that
Well,
aspect?
I assume because she's a coach is to make good synchronization routines with exactly movements. So I assume she's asking Olga, please correct me if not, if after when we start with these new rules, if we have new updates or changes, because she needs time to make a correct routine with good synchronization.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully. So, like I said, I think the goal is that July was feedback, August is finalized, and September is launch, roughly, I would say is the goal. Then the coaches, as you're coming back to prepare for your next season, typically then have all this time until World Cup #1 in, I don't know, to be announced.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, there have been no suggested changes as far as synchronization scoring, is what I can report. There is nothing there. That should stay stable. All right, back to coach cards, but good questions. Keep them coming anytime. We don't mind being interrupted at all. And I see, oh, did Olga raise her hand? Does she want to ask live?
Olga, ¿quieres comentar algo?
Okay.
No, probably
All right,
no.
we can always come back.
Yeah.
Okay, coach card is important. I think all of you are probably getting more and more skilled at this. We know if the athletes do not perform the movements as declared on the coach card, then this may occur. Hybrids, you would go to base mark. As Bill said, if 2 skills are, flipped on the coach card and they don't do it in the right order, that is unfortunately a base mark. If the acro is not performed or it's incorrect coding, it's only a base mark. And unfortunately, I think Victoria mentioned that this is still happening. There are instances, whether it's, a coach forgot to update their acro. Recently I've experienced that it was completely the wrong acrobatic on a coach card. So the coach card went to base mark for an administrative error. So coaches, before you're submitting for competition, make sure you have as many eyes as possible on your coach card. Sometimes it's the athletes who catch it. If coaches have, your athletes also taking a look before you submit, those young eyes sometimes catch things for you, which is great. Technical required elements, if they're not done to the definition, it's base mark. Or a 0, excuse me. If you put A, but you do B, or, you wanted to do B, but you decide to do A, then that is a base or a 0 also, like just that sort of administrative error. Oh, this is an old one. If there is an error in base mark, that was from the old number of movements in time underwater. So please ignore that. I will take that off before I send this to Victoria. So it is important to, as we always say, do what you declare. And I do really encourage coaches to seek input from technical controllers who aren't in conflict with the competition you're going to, just like you would judges. Hey, would you take a look at my routine? What's your feedback? They give feedback on artistic impression and execution. You can seek input for technical controllers like, oh, hey, coach, you've got that code wrong in your acrobatic. You're declaring this, but this is what I'm seeing. Okay, like they just help me an extra set of eyes. And just like any official, as long as they're not in conflict and it's an appropriate time outside of competition, you can 100% get feedback and have expert technical controllers take a look at your routines to minimize any errors. All right, let's look at some difficulty guide review. Any questions so far? I don't think there's anything new in there yet. So what I'm going to do is, as a next step, we kind of got the, okay, administration part done. But if we can look at the difficulty guide, we're going to just kind of go through some typical common errors and just some tips for you through each of the families. So a reminder, in the guide, there's a definition of hybrid. Early on, we were seeing some extra hybrids in there by error, but be sure you know the definition. So if you're putting a movement in your routine, it will not be mistaken as a hybrid. So still right now, a hybrid is a combination of 2 or more movements with that intentional apnea. As tech controllers, as soon as we see that head go down under the hips, it has flagged us that it's likely a hybrid. So you want to stay with horizontal movements, rolling over, etc., that stay as transitions. So just a tip to make sure you're not kind of crossing into a hybrid territory if that's not what you intend to do. First family is our thrusts. You can do a max of 2 per hybrid if levels 1 to 4, 3 times per technique if higher levels. We really don't see this at the moment. It's really more of a rotation issue, but these are the rules. Of course, we have our thrust level 1 to 9. Comparing this to the new table, you'll see there are way more options in thrusts, which is fantastic, but this is the choice of skills we have right now in thrusts. So when you're choosing a thrust, here is what, from a tech controller perspective, you want to be safe on in your declarations. You want to make sure if you're doing thrusts with flexibility, that you're in the okay department, that any one of these photos, you're doing a split, you're doing a clear arch, you're doing a clear oversplit. You cannot have a bent front leg like the image, the yellow image in the bottom corner. Okay, that is not flexibility. I think this year, we saw that a lot last year. I haven't really seen the error this year, but I think it was a good reminder leading up to Pan Am age groups, just in case. Also with thrust with flex, you don't need to have a 9.5 in your split to declare flexibility. But what we are looking at is that you're at least at the hardly recognizable stage. Okay, we are looking for at least 90 degrees in a split. Okay, so don't need to be perfect. We are not looking at execution, but we are looking at, you know, that the minimum recognized, as you can see way down here in that image, is achieved. Kind of as tech controllers, give us the bare minimum, then it's okay, it's a pass. The rest is execution. So to get that declaration, knowing that you've put everything in the right order and everything is okay, some of the things we are continuing to see is, number 1 is probably the biggest. It's not a true thrust. You're bending up. It looks like a porpoise lift action. There's not a going for the risk. We aren't judging execution. We aren't judging how fast you do it, but we are looking that there's an unroll, okay? That it is a thrust, okay? That there is an up and down movement going on, not just a pike up. T9 has some of these same issues too, that it's a porpoise lift, that there's not a clear up and down and stop. That would be ideal to be safe. Thrusting and stopping, but then you can't achieve above the knee, that's sliding down. So we are really looking at kneecaps staying high and dry on that T9. And then, as I just said, the sliding down through the stop. So there isn't a clear stop, which is what we asked for at a T9. So be sure you can do it successfully for coaches if that's going to be declared. Not an accepted flexibility movement. Like I showed that yellow position, I'd say that's at a minimum right now, but you never know, once in a while one could pop up. So just be careful. Not completing a declared rotation after the thrust by the toes, that is still happening. And if it's a thrust with a twirl versus a spin down, so at a T5 we have a twirl 180, If we were to see a drop of 2 height levels, that would be subject to a base mark. Okay, so if you're doing a twirl, we're looking for it staying at a, ideally the same height, but no more than a drop in 1 height level. If we see a drop, that could be a base mark. So that's it. Thrust overall, fairly well done. And I think everyone understands kind of the cautions on the common errors. All right, our big rotation family of everything. Again, the change in March to 2 per hybrid in levels 1 to 4 and max 3 per technique in levels 5 to 9. So I think everyone's pretty familiar with all the rotation options through to level 9. As well as unbalanced. Tech controllers really are trying to have laser eyes on whether you go completely straight, because even at 10 degrees, that's close to straight. So we're really looking if you go completely straight, like, oops, oh my goodness gracious, sorry. If you were to go completely straight, or we're looking if you drop past that 45. Okay, we're really trying to look if there was an obvious out of unbalanced. And then we have the statement about if you're bending your leg and it compensates to make you balanced. People aren't risking that so much anymore. I feel like the unbalanced is very, very clear. The clarity has gotten so much better. But just know we're looking for going straight or dropping under 45. And usually it is very obvious. Someone has popped completely straight or someone lost a skull and then it drops under the 45, just in experience and kind of what I've seen recently. The 3 by maximum of 3 per technique, as tech controllers were watching, okay, they did 3 R5s that were a twirl, then they did 3 R5s that were opening to split. We're tracking that as we go. We will catch if you do 1 extra. So please just make sure you're not doing more than is required. So far, everything's been pretty good. Everything's been really well done in this. Great question before, talking about when the R3s look like R7s. That's more on the tech controllers to figure out. But yes, coaches, we know. We can tell when it's going R7, 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 R3, R3, and you've done 4 in a row. That makes sense to us. We've gotten the hang of it now, since that's been happening over the past few months. So we are tracking as we go, writing notes from a tech controller perspective. And overall, coaches, I think you've done a great job with your declarations. But again, back to a reminder, some good tips from Bill with his coaching hat on. Write out your card. Make sure you're looking at a video of your athlete doing it, that you've got everything in the right order, that you haven't flipped something by mistake. Also, I know coaches, sometimes you're making last minute adjustments. You're like tweaking your routine right before, just make sure you are up to date then in your hybrids, maybe with your athletes land drilling or whatever you need to do a check that, you've got the right hybrid for what you've just made changes for.
Okay.
Oh,
1 question, sorry.
Yeah.
What happens if there is an incorrect declaration but insist of raising the difficulty is lower? For example, they make F5 but declare F4.
I will say right now, it depends.
F5, sorry, but declare F4, F5.
It has to be the same sort of skill. Like an F4 is not the same as an F5. So if we can't find something in the chart that was an F4 and it was an F5, then it's wrong, even if it's underdeclared. Okay, yeah. So I mean, at this
point, be an underdeclared, but not in this example.
Yeah, it's like not in the right box. Like it literally does not match what they did. I can only think of like something else that I'm going to use R3 as an example, because you have a 180 twirl or you have a spin down. Well, if it really used to be a twirl, but you decided to do a spin down, but it's still R3.
Or do like 3/4 rotation, R3, but you perform 3/4 rotation.
Yeah, but I don't know that there's anything in F4 and F5 that match in skill.
Yeah.
So just be so precise and correct. Yeah, that's my advice. Yeah, that is really important. Okay, common errors in rotations. I'm sure you all may be able to repeat this out loud with me because you know this. So this is repetition, but it really is speaking to what tech controllers are looking for, which I think is going to help you in your coach card declarations and choosing the right thing. We're always, we can see if a twirl is incomplete, if you're kind of starting to go up as you're twirling and going down. So we're really looking for that wall to wall up, twirl, and then coming down clearly with it completed. We always have our eagle eyes on that cone and that 10 to 45 degrees. So as coaches, you're looking to keep your athletes in that safe zone. We look for the equal combined and reverse combined spins. If it happened to be unequal, that may be subject to a base mark. Like if your athlete misses a wall, which, is not about a declaration, but more about just an error in the moment. Completing your rotations by your toes and that change in height on twists and twirls, that drop of 2 height levels. The unbalanced rotations need to stay unbalanced for the entire rotation, just not part of it. So if they're straightening into the end or start straight, then that is something that would flag us for a review and a potential base mark. And then actually this last one is something we actually see fairly often. When the airborne weight 2, like your porpoise lift, blurs into your R3. They are anticipating turning before completion. And yes, as tech controllers, we are looking that you at least got into like a vertical position definition within 45 degrees before you turn. But a lot of this time, it can instigate a review because we will see that it just kind of mushed one action into the other. So as coaches, more if you can get them to then raise and then turn, that will be more accurate. And tech controllers are much happier with that, putting a nice check next to that was clean and clear as far as it not blurring. All right, on to flexibility. So again, kind of families nice and tight and concise with these options. As we showed in the draft table, there's a lot more things to do. That was some feedback to get flexibility options expanded, so we would see more flex in routines. Same comment, some of the same comments about, what the minimum level we're looking for in flexibility. Point number 1, this has been fairly well fixed over the past 18 months or so since the new rules, but we are still looking for those straight legs and fully rolling out. Once in a blue moon, there will be one that turns onto their side early or comes out of it. So make sure if you're doing an F2 walk out front that it is fully completed. For split and night, held 1 second or more, yes, we are timing. Okay, so coaches, if you're doing the option where it's a hold, make sure the hold is timed and that if the tech controllers time it, which we do, sometimes we're sitting in practice. That's why we watch practice. We're kind of pre-checking some of these things. If night is more than 45 degrees off, it's looking more like a vertical position than a night, or it's looking more like a split than a night. Sometimes the night positions can be a little wonky, so watch that. And again, what I talked about as part of the flexibility being a minimum. We are looking for hardly recognizable. Our scissors. Scissors kind of is our minimum standard in flex. All right, and on to airborne weight. So again, we have our 7 levels for airborne weight family. Again, this looks fairly similar in the new chart. We have some slight adjustments. The biggest thing we've done with airborne weight to save room on the coach card is it's now just A instead of AW. So it's like A1, A2, A3, A4, etc. But many of the same skills are there with just some extras. So again, yes, I'm showing you the unbalanced airborne weight, that unbalanced photo, because I want it kind of drilled into everyone's eyeballs. And this will remain for the new chart. Unbalanced is unbalanced. This whole, the 10 to 45 degrees is still in place going forward as our unbalanced definition. Okay, so know that this is all staying stable and the same. Plan to be evaluation the same. That seems to be, once we added this image, it seems to be much more well understood, kind of what your safe zone, the green zone, so to speak, of where you should have your unbalanced positions. Okay, on to our common errors. And yes, sometimes it's just not 3 seconds or more. And yes, we are timing. We time during practice and we time in competition. You know, to see sometimes athletes get excited and they just don't make their 3 seconds if the adrenaline's pumping. So coaches, please make sure you're 3 seconds or more. Maybe you want to make sure it's more like 3.5 and not like 3.01, which is like, it would be safe, but it's right on the cusp. But we are looking for the 3 seconds or more, and that is a common error. Airborne weight 4 declared, but the athletes come down. So coaches, airborne weight 4, you need to stay up the whole time, even if you're switching positions. Okay, don't come back down to the surface in between. Like a swirly does not count. A tuck does not count. If you're switching in bent knee position, yes. Into fishtail, that's all okay. For airborne weight 5, the top leg needs to be stable and fixed, and then you're doing whatever you want with your bottom leg. But the bottom leg has to be moving for 3 seconds or more on every athlete. One thing we've seen is that, as an example, is airborne weight 5 is declared as a cadence. So then someone's sitting there and then just maybe does one movement. That's not the definition of airborne weight 5. You need to be moving the bottom leg for 3 seconds or more. It doesn't matter if it's fast or slowly, but it needs to be doing something the whole time, not just sitting there for like 2.5 seconds and then just doing one movement. That would be a no-go. Unbalanced, you need to stay unbalanced for the 3 seconds or more. So if it's a combination of your being balanced and unbalanced, then you'd want to declare airborne weight 6. So in 7, you're unbalanced for the entire time. And note that if you're going to do airborne weight for 6 seconds, that's not 2 declarations. You'd have to come down or come out of the cone to then separate if you'd want to have 2 of them. Remember, kind of, again, your cone of goodness of where you need to be to count for airborne weight, because you need to be up. That's why it's airborne weight, because we're looking for things that are up in the cone. And lastly, don't mix airborne weight. Don't double dip airborne weight with a rotation. So say you can't claim an airborne weight with, say, a rotation 720. You have to choose which one you're going to do. All right. That actually timed perfectly at top of the hour. So what we'll do now is take a 5-minute break. So we'll come back at 12:05 and we will start with connections.
Okay, thank you. 5 minutes.
Okay, hope everyone has a good break and we will keep going. Okay.
Okay,
So
sorry, Cara, sorry.
yes.
Before probably we have two questions before you continue with
Oh, okay.
your explanation. Lena has one question for AW5. Would you say that you start timing when the bottom leg moves?
That would be fair, yes. Yeah. Yep, I think that's what most, you're kind of looking for it going up and then they start to move.
Yeah. The other one, Olga, Spanish. Yeah, she's talking about stability in the rules to has a better synchronization in her routines. That's the
great
idea.
feedback. And Olga, I would say if you want to put that in the feedback link, that would be great.
Yes, sure.
Please feel so it's it gets to World Aquatics and you have that. There is a spot even just for general comments. They ask for a lot of specifics in each of the areas so we can organize the feedback. With the tech elements, appendix 3, figures, etc. But then the last question is just general comments. So that would be great.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sure. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. All right, on to connections. Again, most of the connections are staying pretty stable into the new table with a few additions, to provide a few more options to developing athletes, increase to a 360 rotation option, just to broaden the family a little bit, to give coaches and athletes a few more things to do. But we're going to go through with some images just for some common errors or clarifications, just to make sure everyone's declaring the right thing. So level 1 is for connections on the surface and essentially anything out of the cone. Okay, so you can see that image to the right, the legs are probably at like just below a 90 degree, but maybe off the surface a bit, out of the cone. So piked and at the surface, or your legs are out of the cone, is a level 1. Level 2 is when swimmers are connected in any 1 or 2 leg vertical and make a clear connection with the top leg. So a C2, they're forward. You can see they have 1 leg down at the surface and their top leg touches in the cone. So that is key. Face to face, top leg in the cone. If they were in 2V positions face to face, I'm in a double leg vertical, but they only have 1 leg face to face touching. That's why it says any 1 or 2 leg vertical, because this leg may be down or this leg may be up. It doesn't matter. This is still the C2 happening here. In level 3, it's pretty much what I was talking about in C2, but you're back to back or side of each other. So here we have, they're back to back, top leg in the cone touching. The other image is top leg in the cone touching. I know this swimmer here at the bottom looks like they are on the verge of being out of the cone, but let's say they got there. That is just a snapshot of an image, but I'm aware. It also can be side to side. So a C3 can be this. This is what we see a lot, that especially in duets, they go up side to side and these legs are touching here, but they're in a double leg vertical and they go up. We do not have, and this is a common error at the moment in the current table, 1 leg forward, 1 leg back. So if a duet is, 1 is in the front and they're facing the same direction and they want to connect, that's not, 1 leg is forward and 1 leg is back. That's a no-go right now, but it's in the new table. So coming soon, as of the flip to the new table, that will be an option for athletes, but right now it is not. Okay, so it's go side to side or back to back. So when we've caught or alerted coaches to that no-go C3 of 1 forward back, they've adjusted to the side to side, which is great. Level 4 is 2 legs up in the cone. Okay, so both legs, we see this one mostly kind of going up into like a foot to foot double leg. They go up and they can do 2 C4s. But any of these options, these are pretty well done, the C4 options. C5 is the 1 leg connection with a 180, and level 6 is the 2 leg connection with a 180. Okay, so it's the same definitions, just with a rotation added. So for me, the biggest caution was about C3. And in general, as TCs, we're making sure your connection is up in the cone, unless it's a C1. Okay, it has to be up in the cone. So again, on some common errors, on C2, 3, or 5, top legs don't touch, or it's just the bottom legs at the surface, like a misunderstanding that it has to be the top legs touching. So again, unless you're in C1, if you're in C2, 3, 4, 5, 6, legs touching in the cone, okay? Up is what we're looking for. Of course, the failure to connect is a base mark, unfortunately. You know, they're too far apart or they're out of the cone. Can happen. Athletes are too far apart, but that is a mistake in the moment as opposed to a coach card error. You use that plus sign for a connection with 4 or more athletes. So the most common connection we're seeing is C4 plus in teams. So it's the C4 plus, say all 8 are in a line, all 8 are in a circle, or there are 2 lines of 4 doing the C4 plus connection. You know, they go 1 leg forward, 1 leg back, and then they all switch and do like a quick C4 plus. We're seeing that. As far as TCs are concerned, you know, many times it's very well executed. We are looking for the connection in the cone, and that the connection hits, step 1, and that it's not so wide that you're kind of in a split position. Those are kind of the common things we see in that, but usually well declared. Okay, it's more of the performance in the moment on that. All right, on to bonuses. This will be fairly quick, and then we'll kind of move on after reviewing acro to playing an ISS a little bit and answering some questions. So we still have our 4 bonuses for a little bit longer. Traveling, we are looking that you actually travel. So if you're going to declare it, do it. It's as simple as that. It's very black and white. You know, hybrids with lots of rotations are at risk of not traveling. It takes, you know, highly skilled athletes that can do all those R7s and R5s and keep moving a 1 meter or more. So be sure that moving has to happen in the middle kind of the hybrid. It can't just be on your entry or exit. We're looking for the 1 meter or more clearly happening as they're doing the hybrid. So don't think we have TCs, haven't forgotten. If you're going to put in traveling, make sure they're doing it consistently. You know, we also see, oh, traveling's happening beautifully in practice, and all of a sudden in competition, they don't. So as coaches, kind of make sure your routines have consistent moving, that they're going to get their travel bonus. You don't want a base mark because they didn't travel. Placement, the last hybrid within the last 20 seconds, tech controllers do time it to check. So make sure you're not starting to count it too early. That's the hard part, is sometimes those last hybrids are more than 20 seconds. Then you're not doing the placement bonus. Okay, it has to be starting within the last 20 seconds. And we do look at the coach card and verify that it is accurately done. Synchro full, as far as a bonus, is fairly well done. We're always looking that it's 7 movements or more. That qualifies you for a synchro full bonus. And you're allowed 3 asynchronous movements. Okay, so a lot of times we see that's the cadence is done, so you can still get synchro full. But just note, coaches, make sure you have 7 movements or more in that hybrid. With part synchro, again, this is a little bit not done so often because everyone wants the synchro
sorry
flow
to
bonus.
interrupt, Cara. We
Okay.
have a question from the C's for the connections. Let me check, it's in Spanish. Okay, if I understand well, if you are swimmers are doing a C4 in the moment to go the legs, bend the legs, they're disconnect if it's base mark or not.
No, well, as long as we see a C4, like you went up and then you disconnect, there's no timing requirement to a connection at this time. It can be half a second and it's a connection.
It's not a requirement be bent connected. The connection is on top.
Yep, it's on top. Yep.
Yeah.
We're just looking for it in the cone. And if you wanted to do C4 twice, as Victoria just did, if you went up, down, and back up again, then you could claim it twice because you come down. You come out of the cone to claim it.
Okay.
That gives a really good segue, just as a note to the new table in the connections family. And this was actually one of Bill's suggestions, is that there's a sustained connection code that if you choose to do something for 3 seconds or more, like a sustained connection, that is an option. So that it's kind of allowing us, okay, you're choosing to do the quick connection, it's this value. But if you're choosing to do a sustained connection, then you're showing it to us for 3 seconds or more, the value goes up. So there are more options within connections in general to make them more worthwhile doing. Okay, back to synchro partial. So this means that part of your hybrid is fully synchronized with 7 or more movements. Usually this is very well done. Again, just watch that when you are claiming anything for a synchro bonus, you have 7 or more movements. Okay, that's our minute, and that it's a clear 7 or more movements that your athletes are doing. And pattern changes. So when we're looking at pattern changes, we know we're not looking at execution of them, but we are trying to see each of your pattern changes. You kind of have to click and show it to us that we see it. We need to see that the change was attempted. Again, we don't judge the execution, but we need to see that the pattern change was attempted. We really try and be sure that we're giving the athletes benefit of the doubt, that it was kind of a little bit off, but it was there. Okay, but again, this is why we're kind of moving pattern change recognition over to artistic impression in the future, just so pattern changes are really done for artistic and adding choreography and movement to the routine, but that it's not becoming just for 0.3 every time, because we're getting to the point of so many pattern changes to verify that we're just not seeing them anymore, or they're not, they're so minuscule. It's one athlete moving to make it, that it's kind of defeating the purpose of kind of what we wanted. Is we do want to reward it, but we're going to reward it in a different way. Any questions as I wrapped up kind of what we're looking for? So this is all kind of just to remind you, another nice refresher on when you're declaring, thinking about what the tech controllers are looking for. It's kind of, that's kind of my goal with this, is to be like, okay, if you're making the choice to declare something, you're also thinking about what the tech controllers are looking for, to knowing that you feel confident declaring it on your coach card. Double check. I don't think there's anything. Oh,
yeah, we have one for synchronization. The 7 minimum movement must to be one followed by the other, or they can be separated by 3 no synchronization movements.
Yeah, and actually the 3 asynchronous count in the 7 movements. They can count as long as each kind of athlete is doing 7 movements, you're safe. Okay, think about it that way. If like we're a team, I'm looking at me, Victoria, Tammy, Esther, if we're a team, and Bill, Bill's on our team. If we were to do it, each one of us would have to have accomplished 7 movements. Okay. All right, on to acro. And acro is truly just kind of, it's a big, big topic. And there are some changes coming, but I just kind of want to remind coaches of some common coach card errors that I see, and ones that hopefully like give you some tools to make sure you're declaring the right thing. So first off, you have your catalog. Make sure you have it downloaded. Some of you I know have it printed. That's fantastic. I tend to store it on my iPad just because it's a lot of paper. But, it's there on the World Aquatics website if you need it. Please, please, please sometimes go back and refer to the catalog, not just the quick reference documents, because of the information that's in there to verify you're doing it correctly. And know your rules, etc. It's a bunch of homework, but it's good. That's why it's there. The catalog, once you look at the revised one, it's great. It's simplified. There have been great changes made to kind of simplify the catalog. But for now, for a few more months, we need this one. Second resource, you have these quick reference sheets. They're great for having with you for, codes. But again, sometimes you need to refer back to the catalog. But this is your required resource number 2 to have as coaches, to double check that you're declaring the right thing. Things I'm thinking about, especially in A and B family, that are common errors are your small and big constructions. Make sure you've got that correct. Sometimes we're seeing that on smaller teams. They've declared the big construction, but they're really the small construction. Okay, so make sure you have that correct. That is changing for the future, which is good news. But for now, for a few more competitions, it is not. Bonus pages. This actually is one of the biggest flags for me as a tech controller, is that I'll see that there is a bonus declared that makes no sense, that does not apply to the acrobatic being done. So I ask the coaches, if you're declaring kind of one of the less common bonuses, that you go back to the catalog, to the bonus pages, and look at the picture and make sure it is what you're doing. One that I see commonly misdeclared is, I think it's, I want to say it's not the W4, but it's the one where it's like a twirl on the feet, and it's actually,
I think it's the W2.
Like, thank you, Tammy.
Yeah.
That's exact. Thanks. And coaches are doing that when it's just a rotation on top as a bonus. That's not the bonus. The bonus, the best way I can put it, it's like when you're breakdancing on the floor and you're spinning on your back or your bottom like this. That's what it's for. Like the base is staying stable and the featured swimmer is kind of twirling like a pirouette, like a ballerina or a breakdancer. It's not when the construction's going up and it's turning all together. Don't declare that. That's literally the one. That's one of the most common. So please make sure you're checking your images, or ask a tech controller again to see, are you declaring the right thing? You don't want to go to BaseSmart for, a wrong bonus code added. Okay. So please, please check that your bonuses are safe. Then we have all these lovely clarification documents. I know it's a lot, but kind of, it helps you to make sure you're doing the right thing. And I feel like your neighborhood technical controller can help you with that if you need a trusted assessment of if you're doing the right thing. There is the most recent Q&A. This was actually written more with coaches in mind. So make sure you're doing that. One of the other ones, going back to group C, is when you're doing any of your flying acros, the ones where it explicitly says it's a jump, not a transit. You can't be really close and just kind of crawling onto it. You need to leap that featured swimmer needs to have some airtime before they land, not, you know, if it does say transit, that means it can be like a climb onto. But if it doesn't, if it's jump, not transit, tech controllers are looking that you jump. So make sure you've chosen the right code there. There's also an allowances, kind of just nice reference page that you can find on the World Aquatics website. That is what, you know, a sheet that tech controllers use. So you should use it too as coaches so that you know your declarations are safe. And lastly, and a heads up, that there is a new revised approved new acrobatic codes document, version 3. It's post super final. Okay, so 3 new codes were added that were approved up until the end. Okay, so that is posted right now on the World Aquatics website. Okay, so questions. We'll stop the share for a sec. Any questions on the theory part? Okay.
No.
No, everyone's good. Okay, hopefully that gave everyone lots of information about kind of to take a breath, look at your codes. So if everyone's like reflecting kind of on what they have, I will just pull up the ISS coach card and I will try. It's just loading. Still waiting. I see that. I'm going to try one more time. Hold on. Okay, we'll give it a second. Oh, here it comes now. Okay, so everyone can see the coach card, the ISS coach card. So let's just put in here, we're at the Pan Am age group championship. You would write who you are up here at the top. Okay, let's say it's prelims. And we'll say, well, let's just say we're youth. So we'll do solo free. You would put your theme. You would put the name of your competitors. Would put my name. Why not? Let's see. I am youth. So this would be the card you're using for Pan Am age groups. For some of you, this would be very familiar by now. The other cards, the Micro Plus, the Swiss Timing, they're all similar web-based versions. You have your time. You have your part here, which you would do down at the bottom. So it's down, the elements editor is down at the bottom of your screen. So let's say I'm going to jump right in and do a hybrid. Base mark, we don't need to do. Okay, you don't need to put anything in there. And then you're going to click declare difficulty. Let's say I'm going to start with a thrust. You click OK, and then I would choose what thrust I'm going to do. I'm going to start with a T9. And then you would click again. You can see T9's been added at the bottom. Let's just say then I'm going to do an airborne weight 7. That gets added at the bottom. Oh, let's do a rotation. And I'm going to do an R7. And let's just say, and one tip, if it gets tedious doing it this way, adding one thing, opening, adding another, is if you click on this little notepad, you can type in what you want. Right at the top, let's do 5s, and then let's say an F2. And then bonus wise, I'm going to travel. and then there's a green check mark, and it's going to enter everything for me. Then the next part, I of course need to transition. I'm not putting the times in at the moment. I'm not being a good coach. So you also need to, if you want to edit it, let's say I didn't do this at the right time, you just click on it, and I guess my hybrid would start, let's say 10 seconds in and goes to 20 seconds. And you can edit it. My transition then starts, let's say from 20 seconds to 30 seconds. And then you would just keep going with all of your hybrids as you go down. Knowing that I've done solo, I don't know if it'll even let me do acrobatic. Oh, it still does. Okay, I wasn't sure if it came up. Okay, so this is the coach card. You would then go to Excel to generate it. So once you've filled out all of your elements, and you can see that elements, it does automatically for you, it numbers them. So if I put another hybrid here, it would automatically go as 2, etc. You generate your coach card, and it would pop it into a file for you. And that's what you would then submit to the meet organizers. So it's taking some time, and then you could see it would put it into a document for you. So what else I wanted to say is I have heard comments before, kind of on the scoring end of it, is don't start manipulating that Excel document that you've generated. You need to go back into this ISS file that would be saved for you and edit it there. When you start editing the Excel document, it distorts it. It messes it up for the scorer. They really need to pull in. Don't rename it. Don't rename the file. Don't start editing the file. Okay, you need to be able to kind of edit it from the integrated sports system coach card app here on your table, on your in your desktop, wherever you're doing it. And for coaches, just be really, the declarations are getting quite long. So just be really, strategic that you've done the correct amount, your athletes are land drilling with you, etc., to do that. So now I just wanted to open it up if anyone specifically has questions about kind of inputting on this. Like kind of it's my chance to pick your brains on what are your biggest concerns with the coach card. It's your turn. Like I've done a lot of talking, but I think it's best if you have any questions on what you have trouble with your coach card. What concerns you the most in knowing what to declare?
Okay, yeah, that's great, Cara. Really clear and good explanation with the system, and I think it's the best for the coaches. We have some questions here in the chat. The first one, if you're allowed to make an R7 with an R3 together, or you have to change a position in between these two rotations.
I've seen both ways, so no, there's nothing in writing that says you have to.
Yeah. The second one I think is similar. If you, yeah, the same. If you are allowed to make an R3, R7, and R3 without changing positions.
Yeah, the TCs I'd say are pretty well trained on that now. That they look the same. Like they literally will do 3 R7s in a row and then do the same actions for R3, R3. We're good.
Another one, will ISS be updated with the new difficult chart rules so that you cannot actually input than 5 family in the hybrid?
Of course, once everything settles and once everything is not draft and official, then yes, ISS and all the other systems will be updated. Yeah, to reflect the new rules.
Okay, one. How can I open my Excel in the ISS?
Oh, that's good. Okay, I think. All right, hold on one sec. I believe what you can do is your Excel, wherever you've saved it, you can drop it onto this card and it will open back up. So if I were to close this and find where it's saved, you just drag and drop the Excel sheet onto the ISS, the blank ISS, and it should open up.
Okay, because here the same person is, once it's create, when I want to modify something, I cannot open in the system.
And I may need, I believe, okay, I'm going to clear this coach card. Save this coach card. Maybe that's what I needed to do before even save it. Load, if I hear load a coach card, I don't know, I may not have saved this one. I don't know that anything, it should be somewhere where you can open it back up, like that showed that I had some coach cards. Okay, I'm just gonna, for this part, I'm just gonna pretend. Okay, let's just, I'm not putting anything in, but let's just try and save it. Do a part, do a transition. Let's do one more hybrid. It should, if I save here, now I'm saving the coach card. So this is what I did. Instead of generating it, I'm clicking save. So make sure you're doing like that old style floppy disk. Let's save it on my desktop. Let's clear the coach card. Let's go now to open, load a coach card, or drag and drop. So the drag and drop option is there, which is what I thought. But if I go open desktop, here it is, and I click on it, it's just loaded. Okay, so I'm loading back that Excel file. And I could also drag and drop it onto the app. So it should work. So you can either open it right from here or drag and drop wherever your coach cards are saved. So that way you make your edits that way. Always back on the app, not in the Excel itself.
Thanks. Another one, I'm not sure, it's la declaración de cantidad de familias. How many, I think they are asking how many families you can declare, but it's not sure if it's in this system of the proposal for the new one. So
in the current system, no changes. You could just declare all rotations if you wanted to, and nothing else. There's no rule at the moment that says you have to use all of the families. Your mark will be reflected in artistic impression in that way, but if all you do is rotations, but there's no, if you choose to just do the rotation limits, which are a maximum of 2 in levels 1 to 4 and 3 per technique in levels 5 to 9, you could technically use those limits and only have rotations in every single hybrid you do.
Yeah, perfect. The next one is about combo. How can I declare the hybrid in solo or duet?
Yes. Okay. That's a really good feedback too. As tech controllers, we just know you can't, we know it's a hybrid, but in the part, it's not like it says solo hybrid or duet hybrid. It's something that's come up. So thank you for reminding us. It would have to be here, like another option added, like solo hybrid or solo dash HY, and we'd know that it's for combo. So thank you for reminding me. That's a good suggestion. We'd have to add it as a drop down selection in the part.
Yeah, and the next one is about the connection in size way. in vertical, if you have to put C4 or C5 because they are only connect one leg. But y las piernas al centro se conectan. And if they connect more than one leg, I assume is when you're in aligning teams, you declare C4 plus or C5 plus.
Yeah, it would be, well, anything 5 or 6 is with rotation. So that would have to be rotating, but you're right. It can be back or side. So if it's C4 plus, so many teams do this. They go up C4 plus side, and then they'll rotate like kind of separate, and then do C4 plus one behind each other, like 2 legs connection, one forward, one back. So it'd be like C4 plus, C4 plus. It's not very well done, but yeah, side and then this way.
Yeah, well, the same question from combos. Olga, for Junior Worlds in Peru, is this version from Coach Car or is a version for World Aquatics? It's not, it's the system, it's not the Coach Car is ASM is the same. Not too sure if
Yeah,
you're asking.
I think Junior Worlds would be Micro Plus, probably.
Yes, yes, it's not so different, and we will use ISS in Peru from the PAC event. But as Cara says, it's not so different systems.
Yeah, it's still kind of drop downs and selecting and saving and editing. I don't have as much experience with Micro Plus actually as I do. Probably ISS I know the best. But just
yeah. The next one is I have had time when finding an acro when the diagram and code don't match. It is in the system of their system, or is there a way to search to about that?
I would say always refer back to the catalog. That is like the main source of truth. You know, I think in the system it's a guide, but I would always stay true to the catalog. And if not, like find a tech controller to ask to verify, or an expert. Don't feel like you're alone. If you just need a verification, ask someone who may be able to just double check a code.
Okay, next one, if you can download and load, I assume it's Word, a Coach Car. If you're allowed to download in a Word document. I assume it's
so.
Word, Sandra, if not, tell me.
Right now, World Aquatics has a fillable PDF, but I don't know, we don't have a Word document out and about. There is, as Bill was mentioning earlier, we have the Excel tool on the learning platform. And that allows you to put in codes. And as Bill said, like the values pop up. It's like kind of a coach's tool to strategize your coach card. That would be my suggestion. I know some people are more comfortable in Excel, but again, it's easy enough. Even if you want to create your own in Word, you can use the PDF and convert it to a Word document, or just kind of replicate it yourself in a Word document.
Yeah, next one is in a sustained night to bend leg until the water come back to the position. It is considered as 1 F5 or 2 F5.
Definitely. Yeah, you don't even, as you know, many people just do a little flick for 2 F5s.
Yeah.
Something we're clarifying in the new guide. Kind of that, but for now, yep, like 1, 2.
Yeah, Luis, it's the same question about how to declare the combo you did it, solo and in combo, solos or teams.
Just a hybrid. It's just a hybrid, yeah.
The next one in Acro, in combine, no. Okay, sorry. In Acro C for combos, how can you declare about the number of athletes?
In doing a combined C acrobatic,
I assume it's about the number of each formation.
I think in C, there's definitely, if you look again at the catalog, at the constructions, there's more flexibility around the number of people, because technically it's like 4 and 4 a lot of the time. So the kind of the big small isn't really as important in group C as much as it's very clear in A and B of when you're doing small and big constructions. But because C is combining, you know, a group of 8 to 10 athletes moving between 2 acrobatics, there's more option there. And is quite honestly, tech controllers, you know, we can only see so much under the water. But again, I go back to the catalog and always look at the constructions and see what it says.
Okay, next one is any mention if the system being able for max? No, because you are not allowed to use the ISS in the Mac.
You need a patch.
Yeah.
I have those instructions somewhere, Julie. Just message me. Yeah, we sent some instructions out about that.
Yeah, I asked also Mike, yeah, because I
Yeah.
use Mac and I know I can use the system. You need to use another computer to do that.
Yeah.
The next one is when there are a solo or duet in that team or combo. Oh, okay. It's about the distance in between swimmers. If it's something stipulate in the when how far can they go out?
I think there's nothing in the rules.
No, it's just for judges' point of view. Be careful. It's not this distance is not too far, because could be the rule says something like I don't remember exactly, but some part needs to start close to the other, something like that. We know something, you need a safe place if you finish when the anacro and the, for example, solo start for that point. Be careful about that, but it's nothing like a distance exactly. A new one. Does the program give you also the apnea times, or you need to do that manually?
No, I don't. That's a great question. I don't believe so. I've seen some of the other systems give you, based on the hybrid times, it'll spit out a projected apnea time. But for the sake of youth and 12 and unders at PanAm age groups, or in juniors as well, it will just be timers on the side as per like the apnea, World Aquatics apnea document that tells you how it's being timed. You know, it is timers doing it. So coaches, I would, you know, do it yourself during a run through, knowing your timing, turning on and off from breath to breath through the whole routine to see what your total is. Because that's all it is. It's a total of the hybrids, the free hybrids.
Okay, no more question on the chat.
Okay, we'll give everyone, we have about 10 minutes left. So it's really, truly your 10 minutes. If you have anything really to ask us, whether it was at any part of this presentation about projected new drafts and giving feedback, if it's about what tech controllers are looking for, if it's about PanAm age groups, because Victoria's here, she could answer on that, or if it's about the ISS system, I'm doing my best to be Mike and answer those questions.
And remember, here is Tammy too. He's our representative in all the coaches. So if you have any questions, connect Tammy. And just a reminder, we are going to send you the link for the, if you have some comments or feedback about the new rules for Aqua, that's one. The new code for Acro, Cara mentioned in this, it's just update in the Aqua website. And also remember, we have 2 really good seminars this year in Americas, one after the PanAm event in Lima, and immediately after the Junior Worlds in Lima too. So if you are there, please stay for the seminars. And if you are not going for the events, you are also be allowed to go to the seminars. I think it's a really, really good opportunity in our area this year. We have really 2 big events. So please try to attend. I think it's a really good opportunity for all of us. We have another one. Sorry. ¿Cómo puedo distribuir los 7 híbridos para tener los 7 híbridos es una buena dificultad? Okay, probably this is more for Tammy. How can I put 7 hybrids in my routine with good difficulty in the 7?
That's a big question. I think you have to look a little bit at strategy of your athletes, you know, a lot of front-loaded routines these days while the athletes are fresh, you know, but not everybody's like that. I think in a lot of routines, we see the front pretty heavy and then a little break in the middle and then maybe something big at the end, but it really depends on the strength of your athletes. And then I think also putting the riskier moves maybe in the beginning, you know, where they're more fresh and more able to complete things successfully, and keeping the more basic moves in the end of the routines. But it's a struggle for all of us, and I think that's why they've adjusted it, you know, with the new proposal. So we're all excited for that. Thank you. We appreciate that change, that's for sure.
Yeah, sure. Another one is, where can we find a draft of the updates of the new rules? I know AQUA sent to all federations, but also we can share you and put in the same mail when we send the links and all the information. We can put this info too. And can we attend the seminars online also? Not sure about that. I think these 2 will be in person, but for sure we will doing more webinars. So sorry, after September. So you will have more information and updates about the new rules. That's the idea. We have a lot of experts in our area, so we are so lucky. So probably we will have more information online too. Okay, I think we don't have more questions in the chat.
Victoria, I was also going to mention
yeah,
that there is an advanced school. If you are a judge and you need an advanced school, there is one being held in Montreal, September 20th to 22nd. Victoria is the instructor, but I just, again, that would have gone out to federations, but I felt like since we're all here, just important to mention it is for officials in the Americas.
Yes, thank you, Cara. I forgot that, but we are really, really trying to make a lot of things for you, coaches, technical controllers, and judges, to push all of you. We know that we have so many changes here, so we are working just to make the best information we can give you. So be in contact, send all the things you need, and we are trying to do our best. Thank you so much to be here, and see you soon, probably in Lima.
Yes. Take care, everyone.
Take
Thank
care.
you for coming.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
So